Welcome to The Explainer. You ever stop to think about what's actually happening when you click Buy Now or post a photo? There's this entire invisible world of rules running in the background. That's cyber law. And today, we're going to break down the code that governs our digital lives.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, what even is cyberspace? Then, how in the world do we start making laws for it? We'll get into the tech that proves you are who you say you are, what happens when things go wrong, and finally, what a digital courtroom actually looks like. All right, so first things first, we've got to talk about the where. This place we all go to every single day, what actually is it?
I mean, think about it. It sounds so simple, right? But you can't point to online on a map. It has no borders. And that one simple fact is probably the single biggest headache for lawmakers in the 21st century. So here's the deal. Cyberspace is basically this virtual world that pops into existence from all of our computers and phones talking to each other. And it happens so fast. I mean, it just exploded. And our old school laws, the ones based on maps and borders, were completely left in the dust. It really was like the Wild West all over again, just a digital version. A whole new frontier just begging for some rules. So, how do you bring order to a place that's chaotic, has no borders, and where anyone can pretend to be anyone else? That's the puzzle. And the attempt to solve it? Well, that's pretty much the origin story of cyber law.
To build any rule book, you really need two parts that fit together perfectly. You need the why, the big idea, the philosophy behind it. That's jurisprudence. And then you need the what, the actual nitty-gritty rules you can enforce. That's the law. In the digital world, if those two don't line up, the whole thing just falls apart.
And what's so fascinating is that the law isn't just one rigid thing. It has to be flexible. So a court might use a doctrinal approach. Just look at the written law, plain and simple. Hacking, the IT Act says this, so that's the penalty. Then there's the consensual approach. You know that I agree button you click without reading? Yep, that's a contract. And maybe the coolest one is the realist approach, where judges take an old idea, like the right to privacy, and stretch it to fit our new digital lives.
So all this theory actually led to real-world laws. In India, for instance, the big solution was the Information Technology Act way back in 2000. This was literally them creating a rulebook for that digital Wild West, appointing some sheriffs, setting some boundaries, and trying to make it a safe place to do business.
Okay, so we've got laws on the books. Great. But how do you build trust in a world where you can't even see who you're dealing with? The answer, funnily enough, isn't just law. It's technology. It's all about your digital fingerprint.
And the absolute foundation of all of this is cryptography. Now, don't let the word scare you. It's just a fancy term for writing in code. Think secret messages, but instead of a decoder ring, we're using incredibly complex math to scramble information so that only the person it's meant for can ever unscramble it.
There are basically two flavors of this. On the one hand, you've got symmetric encryption. Super simple. You use one key to lock a box, and you get a copy of that same exact key to your friend so they can unlock it. But then you've got asymmetric, and this is where the magic really happens. Imagine you have a mailbox with a slot. Anyone can drop a message in. That's the public key. But only you have the special key to open the box and read what's inside. That's your private key.
Now, these two methods have totally different jobs. That simple one-key system, it's fast and it's great for just keeping stuff secret, like encrypting your hard drive. But that two-key system, that is the real game changer. It's not just about secrecy, it's about identity. It's what allows you to prove with mathematical certainty that you are who you claim to be online.
And that two-key system is what creates something called a digital signature. Think of it as your unique, impossible-to-forge digital fingerprint. It proves it's really you, that the document hasn't been changed, and, this is the big one for the lawyers, it provides non-repudiation. That's just a fancy way of saying you can't come back later and claim you never signed it. It is legally just as binding as signing a piece of paper with a pen.
But let's be real. Just because we have locks doesn't mean there are no burglars. The same anonymity and borderless nature that makes the internet so amazing, well, it also makes it a perfect playground for criminals.
I guarantee you've seen this one. It's called phishing. It's that email that looks almost like it's from your bank or from a streaming service, trying to trick you into giving up your password or credit card info. They're literally phishing for your data, just hoping you'll take the bait.
So how do they make those emails look so convincing? A lot of the time, it's a trick called email spoofing. They actually forge the from address, so at a quick glance, it looks totally legit. It's a shockingly simple way to get us to let our guard down.
And then, of course, there's hacking.
This is just straight-up digital breaking and entering. Someone forces their way into a system where they don't belong, and they're there to steal, to break things, or maybe even to hold your precious data hostage.
And the list of digital dangers just goes on and on. We're talking about cyberstalking, which is absolutely terrifying, identity theft, where someone can literally destroy your financial life, online scams that trick people out of their life savings. You have to remember, these aren't just news headlines. For the victims, the damage is very, very real.
So, when all this bad stuff happens, how does a legal system that was basically designed for horse and buggies even begin to deal with it? Okay, let's pull back the curtain on the virtual courtroom and see what digital justice actually looks like.
So in a country like India, the court system has that traditional structure, from lower courts all the way to the Supreme Court. But they made a really smart move for the digital age. They created special courts. And it makes total sense, right? You can't expect a judge who's an expert in property law to suddenly understand the ins and outs of a network intrusion. These special tribunals have the tech expertise to get things right.
But here is the absolute messiest part of it all: jurisdiction. I mean, who's in charge? Think about it. A hacker in Russia uses a server in Brazil to attack a company in Japan, and the victim is you, sitting in your living room. Which country's laws apply? It's a huge puzzle, and the answer can depend on everything from where the computer was to who the people are. It gets complicated fast.
And make no mistake, the penalties here are no joke. On the civil side, you could be on the hook for a ton of money. But for criminal stuff, we're talking serious jail time. Just for hacking, you could get up to 3 years in prison. And for something like cyber terrorism, you could be looking at a life sentence.
So, at the end of the day, why should you care about any of this? Because cyber law isn't some abstract thing for tech geeks and lawyers. It is the invisible safety net that holds our entire digital world together. It's the reason you can trust your banking app, buy something online, and feel, well, relatively safe doing it.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. In a world without borders, who really owns the law? As technology keeps blurring the lines on the map, the fight over who gets to write the rules for our shared digital future, well, that's going to be one of the biggest stories of our lifetime.